You are now joining the Raspy Voice Kids on an amazing occasion. We got who we call No Hatin', Steve Slaton, Super Steve to so many of y'all. I am Brandon Phoenix, a.k.a. I Also Hate Pitt, and I'm joined by my brother.
I'm also here, Jay and Fiend. I'm with everybody else, Mountaineer Nation. Excited, Mr. Steve Slaton.
Thank you so much for joining us, Steve.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm enjoying this.
Hey, we were talking before we came on, and I wanted to say, man, I want to thank you up front for being the best part of nearly half a decade for not only me, but for so much of Mountaineer Nation. You and Pat White, you guys built up an entire state. You gave us pride, you gave us enjoyment, you gave us excitement, and I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, I think a big part of our success was our fans. I mean, there's nothing like playing Thursday night, Saturday night, whenever it was, just playing at night games and just hearing those cheers. I mean, that's just all the motivation you need to play.
Well, we had season tickets back then. We sat in section 102.
102 brothers.
And the reason I said No Hatin' Steve Slaton is that's what we would chant. We had our own chant when you would get the ball. No hating, Steve Slaton. That's right, Pat White. But anyway, we were there I was there for the Virginia Tech game when you really burst onto the scene, when you got your chance. What was that like, man? As a freshman, coming to Morgantown, of course, there were thoughts that you'd go to Maryland, and you ended up choosing. How did you choose WVU?
Well, I mean, that whole situation with Maryland, I committed for like 6 months. Found out through a reporter my scholarship was reneged. Spent a while trying to get in touch with my recruiting coordinator. That was James Franklin, head coach at Penn State.
For real?
Yeah, so I finally got in touch with him, and he said that, on signing day, if they have an extra scholarship, I'll get it. So I just chose to put myself back on the market. But, one of those things is to where teams show their true colors when they're recruiting. They tell you what you want to hear. But West Virginia, Bill Kalivich was my recruiting coordinator. He would call me every week still. He still called me and just said, even though I committed, he said, we'll still love to have you here. And they were only one of the other schools when I reached back out that were consistent with holding my scholarship for running back.
Now, that's a big deal because James Franklin doesn't usually miss on recruits, man, but he messed up bad on that one.
Now, how does that happen, though? How does that happen when, we saw the talent from the get-go. When you step on the field, we saw the raw talent. How does that happen that recruiting misses that bad? I don't get it.
Well, I'll put it this way. If you think about football areas, you think about Texas, you think about some parts of Pennsylvania, think about Ohio, you think about Florida, and I think it's the system they graded on and the talent you play against. I think it's hard to really to grade well. You see all these AAU basketball teams. It's easier to grade a player because they're traveling around the country and playing against the best against the best.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And football, you don't. you stay in your. There is no AAU unless you want to go to a prep school or things like that. But sometimes you're just stuck in your area, and if your area doesn't have a lot of recruits, I guess people reflect that on you.
Now, it makes a lot of sense. I never thought about it that way, but that makes perfect sense. So you burst on the scene, you get a chance to show what you could do. I'll never forget the first time I saw you go, and I kept thinking, why didn't Rich Rod start this guy? It's same thing with Pat White versus Bednarik. Why didn't Rich Rod start this guy? And then from there on, you guys you had tremendous freshman seasons. When did you know you belonged? Like, when did you know that you were the man?
I think everybody always feels that way. You start out that way, and little things here and there, but you have to believe in yourself because one thing is opportunities come and go, and whenever opportunities come, you have to take advantage of it. There is no, there's only one chance, one first chance for first impressions. Yeah. So I've always, believed in myself and my talents and what I could do, and the opportunity I got, I had to, make best and run away with it.
No, I love that. I love that. And it kind of answers my next question is when you came onto the scene, when you were a freshman, there's probably a lot of people who knew you. There are probably some people who knew you. But the big name I remember that year, and the big name I remember was big number 14, the Long Island dude, Jason Gwaltney. That was our freshman stud. That was a guy that everybody was like, oh, you can't miss this guy. You can't miss this guy. My question is, how did that affect you? Like coming in there, hearing the fans, buzz about Jason Gwaltney. Did that have any kind of effect on you and your mental?
I mean, I think playing running back, it is a selfish game. But I knew what my game wasn't his game. His game wasn't my game. So, I could do different things he couldn't do, and he couldn't do things I could do. So I think that's what being a running back and being in a certain situation is that what do you offer? What is your skill set?
Speaking of what you offer, there's been a debate going on for years amongst Mountaineer fans, at least there was for a long time, about who was faster, Pat White or Steve Slaton.
Now throw Divine in there too.
I don't think Divine's in that class. I feel like Divine was quicker, but he wasn't as fast.
I think it depends on how far you're running.
He was quicker. He wasn't faster, but me and Pat were always a switch up. It was always a
Y'all never had a race. Y'all never had a straight foot race.
Yeah, we had straight foot races.
The first one, no. The first one I'm sorry.
I won a few times, and he won a few times.
The first time you raced, you both laced them up. I'm sure you had a little audience. Who won the foot race the first time you guys laced them up and went?
I did.
That's all I want to know. Boom. Boom. Got him.
All right, so, again, people will tell you that those years, the Pat White and Steve Slaton years, were possibly the pinnacle of West Virginia sports, let alone West Virginia University football. What for you was the creme de la creme? What for you was that golden moment, the best feeling you had wearing the old gold and blue?
Ooh, I mean, there's a lot of moments. I feel like the whole experience, but like I said, you always bias about your years, but to still hold the test of time to what we created 10 years ago, is that still holding true? That we still had one of the most successful seasons. But I mean, every time putting that uniform on was the best time. But I mean, I have to say, Sugar Bowl stands out the most just because that was the biggest introduction to everyone to what we were about.
Yeah, I'm not gonna front, man. I almost shed a tear on that night.
Man, I'm telling you.
Almost, y'all almost got me. You almost got me.
Look, and here's the thing. It was a group effort. You were on the field doing your thing. That's why we won. Then we had Brandon, who was down in where were you, Brandon?
I still feel like there might be a possibility that Hurricane Katrina happened, of course, right?
Yes.
I went down. So we had season tickets that year. I'd gone to every game, and then I went to South Florida for the South Florida game with my cousin.
Okay.
But I went to Mississippi and Louisiana to do hurricane relief work to help repair homes and businesses and whatever else.
Nice.
And I felt like that might have been the little extra that pushed us over the
top.
Plus,
look, Brandon was doing his thing, and then me and Pops, we were in the stadium, and I firmly believe, I don't believe in sports gods, but if I did, they would be smiling on us because in the fourth quarter when the Georgia Dome had sold out of beer, Mike Kimes went and paid $20 for a beer that he found. I feel like it all came together. It all culminated into a win for West Virginia. So I'm just throwing that out there.
No, it was perfect. It was perfect. And, we're Parkersburg guys. So, and you play with Josh Jenkins, right?
Yep.
So we had that connection. And we're talking about these good times because they were so good. They're so good that I think it skews the perspective of what West Virginia football is to some extent because fans expect us to win 10 games every year or Dana Holgerson's head should be on a stick. So my question to you is, since you guys were the golden age of West Virginia football for so many, since you guys are on the Mount Rushmore for so many, why does there seem to be a rift between the university and former players like Pat White and Steve Slaton?
I think it's a tough one. I think it's just we don't have a well-established alumni reception. I don't think, and I think it's harder for guys that are all across the country to get back. Like I see a lot of Ohio State, Michigan, and like the tournaments they have for their alumni association. I think it's easier for them to get back, and I think it's just not in place. We don't have that and that reception back in place for those things.
So you think it's more of a networking thing, more of a liaison thing, as opposed to a respect thing?
Yeah, you can't say they don't respect because they know what we did building there. From guys from Rasheed Marshall to Jeff Hostetler, all these guys before us, what they build on, we have to respect those. That's the reason. Back in my day, it was running back university.
Got that right.
City. We had nothing but a plethora of running backs. So that's what I remember. And now, we're starting to get back into those things, which, I appreciate. But I think it's just, a better liaison. I think if we won a few championships, I think things would change.
Now, see, I asked because this got brought up on the Pat White show, and you guys talked about not feeling welcome when you had the 10-year anniversary, not feeling just basically welcome, not feeling like family coming in. Like I heard one of you said that you didn't hear about it until late.
Yeah.
Pat talked about having to park far away and walk through, like anybody else. And then what happened is so many people accused you guys of wanting the red carpet treatment. And when I listened to you and when I read the things that you wrote, I never got the impression that you guys wanted to be treated like divas. I never got the impression that you were saying that you needed to be treated like superstars. I felt like what you were saying was it was a breakdown of communication. Is that accurate?
Yes, I think so. I mean, my thing is that for anybody, I speak, I have a bigger name, me and Pat have a bigger name, and when we speak up, people are going to take it whatever way they want to. But I'm not speaking just for myself. I'm speaking for guys that we practice against, that didn't get to play in the big games. I mean, to go back and see where the stadium is now. I mean, you guys remember when you guys were when we were there.
Yeah.
The stadium has changed so much.
It really has.
The stadium has changed so much, and I feel that the guys before me were foundation and building blocks. I'm a foundation block. Those guys that practice, not just because we were one scoring touchdowns or running yards, those guys in practice helped us. We all should be able to show our family, walk through, and see those different pieces, those different changes. Because I think I can't remember the last time I was in the stadium or through the players and stuff. Like it changed so much, even from my first year. I think it's changed like 3 times.
It's changed just in the last couple of years.
Yeah, so I want those. My kids are 11 and 9. I took them back the first time since my son was 2 or 1. It's the first time they've been back. It's like I want to walk through the locker room at any point, not every single time, but an appointed time, have an opening, so I can show my kids, hey, listen, this is where I practice, where I sat. This is my locker. This is this area. I have things in the Hall of Fame. I would love to show my kids that, to show them, what hard work can get you. That's something that is still standing for now. So it's a teaching tool for me.
We personally believe that there should never be a moment where Pat White or Steve Slaton do not have that opportunity. And I believe the same thing you did. Once a Mountaineer, always a Mountaineer. So all those guys who put in the blood, sweat, and tears that 1.8 million plus loved and appreciated, they should be able to go back to those stomping grounds, should be able to be a part of the culture, be a part of the fabric. So we appreciate and respect your sentiment on that.
Yeah. And my biggest thing, I think, was that there's no allotted times.
Yeah.
You don't need to go when it's game time, no. But there should be times that you're allowed to do these things. That's the problem. We don't have those times. It's not okay to do it.
Who do you think can fix that?
Yeah.
Because here's what happened. The fans you've got so many fans who hate Dana Holgorsen, who will always hate Dana Holgorsen because of what happened with Bill Stewart.
Yes.
And so the moment that you guys spoke your truth, it became a Dana Holgorsen's a jerk. Dana Holgorsen doesn't appreciate or respect Mountaineer tradition or Mountaineer history. Who do you think is responsible for creating the environment for players to feel comfortable and for the facilities to be available?
Well, I'll take it a step further. I think it's the whole alumni center. It should be. I mean, it's not even just football that are having this rift.
No, Drew Shafino talked about this too.
Yeah, I've talked to basketball people. I've talked to soccer people. I think it's a alumni center. It should be all. It should be not just for football. It should be for all sports. Every sport should feel welcome back. Whatever they contribute. So I can't put it on just one football staff. I have to put it on the alumni. They need an alumni chapter, I guess, that handles that.
Understood. And I thought there was. I thought Dale Wolfley headed up the Max outreach for former players, but I could be wrong.
Yes, it's Dale Wolfley.
So maybe we can get something worked out with him where we can make this better.
Yeah, I think it's it's a collective thing.
Dale loves West Virginia football as much or more than any person that exists on this planet.
He really does. He has such a passion for it.
And so I'm sure that there's no way he wants this perception or this to be reality. Now, I don't want to harp on this all night because there's more to it than that. We've talked about ups, we've talked about downs. I'll tell you, I know one of your worst nights in Morgantown because it was one of the worst nights in the history of Morgantown. We have a policy on this show. We do not talk about that night.
I don't even know what night you talking about, son.
I will make one exception. I do need to ask you a question. I asked Mike Casaza. I know you know Mike Casaza, right? He was a beat writer back when you were playing. He's one of my favorite writers, one of my favorite people who covers WVU, ultra professional, great eye and ear for what he's doing. But I asked him this question because it gets brought up repeatedly amongst Mountaineer fans. This crazy conspiracy theory. Do you believe Rich Rodriguez threw that game? And you know which game I'm talking about.
No, I don't think he threw the game. That's not a part of your legacy you want. I think sometimes in a game, hindsight is like you should have called this play. You should have did these things differently. I don't think he threw the game.
See, and you were in the game, so you would know better than anybody else.
Yeah. One thing I would say, I wish I touched the ball a little bit more in the second half. I think I had 2 carries.
That is part of the conspiracy theory. Why didn't Steve get the ball more? I was there. I was there that night. Jeremy was there that night. As much as heartbroken and as angry as I was, and especially once Rod bolted for Ann Arbor, I have never felt like he threw that game. It didn't make any sense to me. I didn't see. If you're going to give me a conspiracy theory, I need to have a reason. And nobody's ever been able to give me a good reason. And you were there. You played. And if you don't feel like he threw it, then it bolsters my opinion that he didn't throw that game.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one, it's a rivalry game. They wanted a little bit more than us. It was a tight, close game. Why would you throw a game before the national championship? It doesn't make sense. That doesn't help that doesn't bolster your career.
Yeah,
exactly.
It doesn't benefit in any way to throw that type of game. So
exactly, it doesn't make any sense.
My thing is this. We know, the recruiting process. These coaches come and they sit in your living room, and you know better than anybody what they pitch to you, and they pitch family and team, and out there on your 2-a-days and working hard, it's family and team. So my question is, what was your reaction? How did you feel when you learned that this guy who preached family and team was leaving to go to Michigan?
I mean, that's a tough decision. I mean, if I was him, being from West Virginia, being a hometown boy, I mean, you're going to be a god there. But understandable what college football is. Coaches leave often, too, for a job they think is better.
Okay. That's how you felt when you found out? I mean, because you're saying this 10 years later as a grown man, but how did you feel in the moment?
I was leaving. I was leaving if he stayed to win. So I mean, like it's one of I was leaving. I mean,
get that paper. Everybody was getting paper back then. That's what you was
I mean,
saying.
it sucked that he left. I mean, I wanted him to stay for that, but as a business decision. Like I made a business decision, so.
You sure did, man.
No, speaking of that business decision, we know you've had a blessed career. You were able to hear your name called in the draft. You were consensus All-American. You're beloved here in West Virginia. What is the one thing, like they always say hindsight is 20/20. If you could go back and work on one thing or that would help prepare you more for the NFL, what do you think that you would go back and change?
Well, my biggest knock that I got is that I had too much film.
Too much film?
Too much film.
What's that mean?
By too much film, they could break me down. They could see my weaknesses.
Gotcha.
So unlike a quarterback, the growth I showed because I played 3 years and I had 1,000 yards for 3 years. A lot of guys that were drafted before me had their good junior year.
Yeah, and then they just look good on film, and you can't really critique them.
Yeah. So that was my what my agent told me is that most of the teams said I had too much film, too much to grade out. Well, that's part of me, more growth into learning how to block, being I learned how to catch better. I guess better blocking, better understanding the scheme and doing more. But like I said, you said hindsight is 20/20. So
yeah.
There's nothing really I could change. The only thing I could have changed is being a better professional when I was playing.
Well, I felt like, especially your rookie season, man, you represented for West Virginia. We were proud of you, and we felt like you gave it your all. And anytime there's a Mountaineer in the NFL, that's where our heart is. So we were all Texas fans while you were there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You talked about, West Virginia, the plethora of running backs, the history of all the running backs. Amos Zaraway, as a kid, Zaraway was my favorite. I love Zaraway. And you and him have something in common, right? Like you cook now, right?
Yes, sir.
So Zaraway became a chef, and now you're a chef.
Yep.
What is your favorite dish to prepare?
Oof. I like mixing it up. I have clients now. I don't cook the same thing every day. They let me go in different cuisines. But I would say one of the things they request a lot is braised short ribs.
Man, that sounds good.
It sounds really good.
I actually just made some yesterday for them. So
did you cook?
It's one of my favorites.
Did you cook in college?
Here and there. I'll do certain meals, but lifestyle being in college is hectic. So, but every once in a while we will have big meals, and I would cook.
I hear you. Well, Jeremy, you have anything else for Super Steve?
I do. We hear that Morgantown is a place that you don't want to go for your road team. It's hostile. It's nasty. On the flip side, Steve, what is the worst fan base you've ever been around? You went to the stadium and not only was it loud, but these people were just I don't say bad fans, but what was the toughest? I'll say toughest. It would be nice. What was the toughest crowd you ever faced?
I'll have to say, my junior year versus South Florida and Tampa.
I knew it. I should have wrote it down. I said South Florida. I knew it. All right,
that was pretty loud. That was couldn't hear. It's one of those things you prepare for, but that's probably the loudest game I've ever been in.
They were rabid, man. They wanted it.
Yeah.
Now, were you invited to New York as a Heisman finalist?
No, I was not. They took the top 3, and I was 4.
But you were at a college football awards show. I remember seeing you on ESPN. Am I right?
Yes.
And you wore a brown suit, I believe?
It was like a burnt orange suit. I borrowed it from a teammate because I didn't have any of my suits there because we didn't have to wear suits.
See, that was going to be my next question. What in the world were you thinking wearing that suit? Now I know.
Well, it was last minute. Like, I didn't even have my hair braided. The girl that braided my hair, she went out of town. So
I saw Steve. I saw, man. I was wondering what in the world was going on.
No, it wasn't by choice. It was just by
Circumstance.
by circumstances that he had a suit. He was my size. I could fit it. Girl didn't braid my hair. It's one of those things too. Is like you remember, but nobody's ever said anything to me about it. Nobody has been no pictures nowhere. Like you can't find it. It's funny. I feel like the world didn't want that to come out from me.
And that's a blessing, man. That's
Absolutely. Has there ever been a recruit that you thought was coming to West Virginia? I don't know if you've hosted them, but you just saw a recruit and you knew him, and you were excited to play with him that didn't end up coming to West Virginia. Have you ever had that?
No.
Nobody.
No, I think I've had Noel was one of my recruits. A few other guys. I can't remember everybody's name, but I think I explained what college football there was going to be like. What it is. I don't know what everybody else's business like, but you don't want to come here. That's your loss. You go somewhere else. But teach his own. We were part of a program that was building up. That we know that if you come in as a young guy, you can be a part of this movement that we're having.
You ever like single out somebody who flipped at the last second? You're like, all right, I see you on the schedule here. I can't wait to see you.
No, because all the guys that were high school kids, and when I had recruits, I was a sophomore and junior, so I didn't think they would see significant time to be a factor.
Worry about them, yeah.
Yeah, that's just one of those things.
Well, Steve, we appreciate you coming on, man. This is a big deal for us.
Man.
You were a good interview too, man. You didn't hide from any question. You kept it real. Always kept it 100. We appreciate that, and we hope nothing but the best for you and your future endeavors and for your family.
Thank you. I appreciate it. As a matter of fact, we'll have to have you guys on our podcast.
That sounds good, man. Hey, and one thing I do.
No, let me give a special shout out to you too. I won many of NCAA football games with Pat White and Steve Slaton. I was killing people. All right.
I do
want to know. Cheat code, man. That was a cheat code.
It was. It was
what. Go ahead.
No, I was like, it was like creative player, except for y'all were already created.
Shout to Jared Brown with creative player. Yep. I do want to know. What's your favorite Pop-Tart?
I don't eat Pop-Tarts, man. That's just like
never.
Nah, that's being in other countries, so I'm not gonna eat it.
All right, so then what's better, Lion King or Toy Story?
From a black male, I'm gonna say Lion King.
All right, we'll go with that. That's a good answer.
And I'm not even gonna ask you a French fry question since you want to be bougie about the Pop-Tarts.
Some French fries up now.
All right. So what's the best? What is the best fast food French fry?
I probably have to say Arby's curly fries.
Oh man, I feel like you didn't. Jeremy agrees with you on Lion King. I don't agree with you on either, man. On the other two, but you answered the question, so we appreciate you doing that for us.
No problem.
All right, man. We'll catch you here, but just get at us. You got our information, so when you want us on the show, get at it. I've been trying to get Pat on the show, and he's a busy man, so hopefully one day he'll come through.
Yeah, I'll talk to him. He'd be selling insurance and all the financial stuff. He'd be busy. He'd be moving. It'd be hard to get him on our podcast.
I know, and Pat McAfee, he's the other one. Got to get him on the show too.
Yeah, he's a giant.
He's a celebrity, man.
Yeah, I'll leave him to him. I'll leave him be.
All right, man. We'll be easy.
All right, man. Y'all take it easy. Thanks for having me.